Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Have another 2025 rookie profile show here for you today. That's what we are doing on this channel. That is right. We are giving you an early look at the 2025 draft class. And I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Kyle MONANGAI. And so I'm going to be joined by my podcast co-host, Jason DiRienzo, and we are going to give you everything you need to know about Kyle. So is he a sleeper for the 2025 draft class? All right, we're going to go over his college production so far, player from Rutgers. We're going to go over his scouting report, his draft capital, some player comps, and tell you what we think. Is he a buy, sell, or hold? You play Dynasty. This is an early look at the 2025 draft class. If you're out there looking for a YouTube channel that's going to give you an early scouting look at the future draft classes in Dynasty, hit that subscribe button. That is what this channel is dedicated to. Let's get to the show. All right, we're going to have fun with this one. Kyle
Yeah.
MONANGAI. All right, we watched his Ohio State game. We watched his Penn State game and his Iowa game in all 22, broke it all down play by play. Like I said, check us out if you want access to it, reach out. And I was really excited to do this show, Jason, for this particular player because I put out on my YouTube channel my top 20 running backs, and probably
Mhm.
3 or 4 people came back with the same player, Kyle MONANGAI. Why isn't he in your top 20? And one guy said, "You're insane," right? Or something like that. So
Wow.
I said, okay, well then let's dig it out. Let's dig into
Let's
the all
do it.
22 library and check it out and see what we got. So he was a couple of notes here. He's 5'9", 210 pounds. He is going into his senior year. Obviously, he plays for Rutgers. He came in with a 91.8 grade on PFF, the number one other than Trevion Henderson. He had the best PFF rushing grade. He was Big Ten's leading rusher last year with
Wow.
1,262 yards. So and had 8 touchdowns. So he's been a productive player. He's been a workhorse kind of
Yeah.
player. He's going into his 4th season, so he's going to be a senior. But for the first 2 years, he really didn't do much at Rutgers. But last year, he really blew up. They really used him a lot. 7 touchdowns. Receiving grades all in the 90s. I'm sorry, his PFF rushing grades were all in the 90s. And the only knock really on his profile from a production standpoint is his pass catching, which we're going to talk about. So super productive player last year. I know a lot of people correlate production to they must be good, right? But you got to
Nope.
look at the film. You can't, production isn't the whole story. You got to see how the production, how they win.
Correct.
So we watch the all 22 film for you guys. So, because most people don't have access to it. And we came away. I'm not sure how impressed we were. Why don't you go over his overall scouting report before we get to our tape grades? What were your thoughts on his game?
Yeah, I mean, the first initial thing that I saw, he's definitely he's a one cut runner for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, that initial one cut is what he does as soon as he gets the ball into his hand. He is patient. He allows his blockers to, unfold and open up the gaps and takes advantage of them when the gap is developing. If he sees an opening, he will absolutely take it. I liked his ability to get skinny. Even if the
Mhm.
gap was developing and it wasn't large enough, he would try to make his way through that gap and gain as many yards as he could within that first level in the trenches. So I really liked what he would do there. If he had to bounce outside, he would try to, but it's not his bread and butter, and he didn't make too many attempts of it. And I think
No.
that has to do with a bit of a lack of acceleration and the burst of that. Second gear of long speed. Once he were to get the perimeter, I'm not sure if he'd be able to hit that gear to get up the field. I'm not sure about the long speed. I think it's kind of capped off a bit. I did see him get chased down quite a bit. And then even though he is patient, he can be too patient. He'll dance around a little bit too much, just waiting too long for things to develop. And next thing you know, he's getting tackled, right off the snap. So I think that the patience is a good thing and a bad thing, a bit of a double-edged sword. So he's going to have to be a little bit more of a quicker processor. If he was in a zone blocking scheme, I'm not sure how well he would do as far as the navigation. I did like some of the moves that he could string together, but it sometimes it just wasn't enough. The acceleration and the burst is just really lacking, and it's evident when there's a gap there, and he just wasn't able to exploit it the way he could. because he's kind of capped with the athleticism. So I saw some good things as a blocker. I did see him, being willing as a blocker, so that was good to see. The pass catching upside, I'm not sure if that's there, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But to me, I just saw an overall good college player. I am hesitant to say it's going to translate to the NFL.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You said it perfectly, really. And just a couple things you guys watching on YouTube can see on the scouting card here. He's a physical runner.
Hmm.
Tough. He's got that workhorse ability. I think his vision was good. His contact balance, I thought, was just above average, and he's always has the forward
Hmm.
lean, fighting for contact. So if you're looking for just a tough physical running back, I think he can fit the bill. The
Yeah,
receiving
I agree with that.
profile, I think, is a problem, and the burst acceleration, as you mentioned. But to me, the real thing is the lateral movement. The runner is good. He seemed to always run to the left and cut inside, and if it was there, it was there. If not, he just kind of ran into people, but I
Right.
don't think he's got, like you said, the ability to put multiple moves together to make guys miss. And in the NFL, you have to be able to make guys miss in the phone booth.
Yeah.
That is really the hallmark of all of our great twitchy running backs that we love in the NFL. Is they all have the lateral movement skills to really redirect with their feet, and I just don't think Kyle has the sweet feet meter above 5. So for therefore, I agree with your synopsis as well. So let's get to our tape grades. Vision and patience, I gave him a 3.5. I thought he navigated the line of scrimmage pretty well. I think he cut back a lot of plays that we saw on those films, if you recall, and that
Oh, yeah.
shows that
Yep.
he's not just following his blockers, and he is looking around and trying to navigate and cut back when he needs to. So I gave him a 3.5, and then you had mentioned you thought he had some decent patience anyway.
Yeah, I think the patience is good. Like I said, it could also backfire at times too because he would just wait too long. But I gave him a 3. I think it's there. It's solid. There's nothing special about it. It'll get him what he needs if he's going to be a short yardage power back.
Yeah, so footwork and short area quickness, I gave him a 2.5. Just kind of briefly mentioned it 2 or 3 minutes ago. His lateral movement skills, I think, is what my big holdback is for Kyle.
Yeah, I gave him a 3. I think it's average, possibly below average, but there were times where I was kind of impressed with what he was doing, so I gave him a 3.
Okay, acceleration and speed, I gave him a 2. There was a couple plays that we watched where he did break through the line of scrimmage and had the ability to create some separation from the line of scrimmage, and he was getting caught from behind. So he doesn't seem to have that burst when he does hit a hole to really do some damage in the second level. So I gave him a 2.
There was that one, play where it was that sneak, and he was able to get around the edge and break open a big one. I think it was the Ohio State game,
Yeah, yeah.
and, you could see the lack of the top end speed on that. So I
Yeah.
gave him a 2 as well. The acceleration and top end speed, even when he had free roam of the field, just was unimpressive.
That is the official tush push trick play.
Yes,
Is
that
what
was
that
it.
was.
Yep.
That was they went for a tush push play, and they actually handed the ball off, and he ran around the right side and ran to Ohio State. That's why his yards per attempt for Ohio State probably was a lot better than it really was, only because of that 60-yard run that he had. But in any case, strength and contact balance, I gave him a 4. I thought that again, he's a workhorse, physical. I thought he relatively ran well behind his pads, so I gave him a 4.
Yeah, I gave him a 3. I understand the 4. It was more so behind the line of scrimmage. I just wanted to see a little bit more, from him. Even when he was getting tackled, I felt like there were times where he could really just keep those feet turning and try to gain a little bit more, even though he did do that. That's why I understand the 4. Just times where I thought he could do more, he did not, so I gave him a 3.
Yeah, so receiving profile, I had to give him a lowly 1. He had 6
Yeah.
receptions as the 2023, 6 receptions in 2022, and 8 in 2021, and really only totaled 150 yards total. So no real profile at all, which means he probably really isn't going to be a pass catching option in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I gave him a 2 just because I think there was, like, one catch that we saw on film, and when he caught it, he had really good sideline awareness to stay in bounds and then try to get upfield, so I was like, "Okay, maybe there's" so you're saying there's a chance, right? So I
Yeah,
gave him a 2 just in case there's a chance,
just in case,
but I
just in
understand the
case.
1.
Yeah, sure. So 1, 2, they're all about the same, below average,
Right.
right? All right, so
Below
his
average. There we go.
let's talk about his draft capital. You can see again on the screen from mockdraftdatabase.com, 366. He is buried, everybody, at least in the mock drafts right now. I got him as a round 5 through 7 pick. I mean, he could be an undrafted free agent. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got him 6 to undrafted. That just seems like the range at this point from the film that we saw. Nothing set in stone. He could have a really good season and show some development,
Absolutely.
but that's what I
Absolutely.
see.
And for all these shows I'm putting out and all the players that Jason and I are talking about, we have 1 year left. But again, if they were going to
Right.
the NFL now, that is what we're judging, which is good because now we get
Correct.
to look at what we're looking for in Kyle this
Right.
year to improve his profile. So my player comp was Cody Schrader. He was an undrafted free agent, running back out of Missouri, who I really liked. I mean, tough, physical, grinder, kind of get the same vibes here from Kyle.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually think that's a good comp. I had Kennedy Brooks, and you
Good
said
comp.
something when we first started this where, just because they're productive doesn't mean that's going to translate or that they're, good. And I thought of Kennedy Brooks immediately. And then I watched some of the film of Kennedy Brooks, and I definitely saw some Kyle Monangai in there. Kennedy Brooks made a living off of big gaps and taking and exploiting those gaps. Kyle Monangai did the same thing, but behind the line of scrimmage, the indecisiveness sometimes and allowing defenders to get in and on top of you too early is very similar to me. So, and I think Kenny Brooks went undrafted too. So hopefully, the story can change for Kyle Monangai this upcoming season.
Yeah, exactly. So his buy, sell, and hold. I think you probably, after listening and watching this, you probably realize what our answer is going to be.
Mhm.
He's a sell for me. And I think if you have him right now and you've got somebody who's excited in a C2C supplemental draft and you want to trade him right now and get a seventh, eighth round pick to maybe pick another player as a freshman or something like that, I think you should be looking to sell Kyle because there are believers. Like I said, the guys that reached out on my YouTube channel were saying, "Where's Kyle? He should be in your top 20, top 20." So I think if you got a buyer out there that thinks he's going to be something in the NFL, I would say sell.
Yeah, he's a sell for me too. And it's funny when you put these three films out, and I messaged you, I was like, man, that Ohio State game was absolutely brutal. I'm
Mhm.
almost thinking it wasn't fair to use those games, but you mentioned like these are the games, the
Games.
Iowa, Penn State, and Ohio State games that are going to give us the best glimpse of what he could
Right.
possibly be at the next level against these front seven. And if this is who he is, then yeah, he's definitely a sell.
Yeah. So there you guys got it. Kyle Monangai and his profile, at least heading into the 2024 college football season.